Hey everyone, in this video I'm continuing on with my Lucifer coverage. This video is breaking down the second part of the second Lucifer trade paperback. The story arc in this one is called Children and Monsters. And this video is going to cover issues 9 through 13 of Lucifer. In this volume, the angels are going to make their move on Lucifer's gate, and Lucifer is making some of his own moves, and it's going to lead to a big battle. And we're also going to learn a lot more about this Elaine Belloc character whom we were introduced to in the first volume. So we're going to learn a lot about what makes her special, as she's going to be a very important character in the future. So let's dive into it. Lucifer, Volume 2, Part 2, Children and Monsters. Lucifer Volume 2, Part 2, Children and Monsters. This video covers Lucifer issues 9 through 13. The story is written by Mike Carey, art by Peter Gross, Ryan Kelly, and Dean Ormston. Lucifer Issue 9, Children and Monsters, Prelude. 4,000 years ago, in a place called Chaldea, in the city of Uruk, in Mesopotamia, which is roughly modern-day Iraq, we meet a girl named Irishad of Uruk. Irishad was favored by her old gods, but the gods required her to show chastity and obedience. Problem is, Irishad had sex and got pregnant, which means she did not follow her vows, and the old gods of Mesopotamia did not like that. Irishad, she stood before her gods. She asked forgiveness, she said, "Majesty, I repent my sin, and would find the gods' favor again at any cost." The gods replied, "Then rejoice, Irishad, for the gods will pardon you, providing only that you take your own life in the temple grounds." Irishad would not do so, as she did not want to also kill the baby inside her. The gods grew angry at her response, so they told her, "Enough! The gods offered you death, and you would not take it. Take their curse instead. You are a sickness heaved from the affronted gorge. Death will not touch you now. When Uruk shall be dust, and the dust baked and built into cities still unthought of, the sun will still look down upon your shame." So Irishad was cursed with eternal life, and every morning her body forgets all of her wounds and all of her hurts, and it makes itself again exactly as it was when the gods first cursed her, including the baby that was inside her belly. And every day, Irishad had her baby die, and she suffers from a miscarriage. This has been happening to Irishad every day for the last 4,000 years. It drives Irishad a little bit mad. Every day she wishes for death, but it never comes, and she has to suffer through that miscarriage again and again and again. In the current day now, Irishad is still alive. She wakes up, heads to the bathroom, has her miscarriage, and then she continues on her day trying to pretend that nothing just happened. She goes to the rich man who she is staying with, who pays for her lifestyle and takes care of her. They have breakfast. The rich man asks her to return to bed with her this morning, but Irishad refuses, saying she has some shopping to do. Irishad goes out. She does not shop that day, though. Instead, she goes to the burned-down Lux bar owned by Lucifer. She is drawn here by the gateway into the void. She enters the burned-down bar, sneaking past the cops guarding it. She manages to find the gateway to the void there. Irishad assumes this will be her exit, a way to escape her cruel fate. Lucifer is there, though, and he stops her. He tells her, "This is private property. Unlike the opposition, I don't have any obligation to forgive trespassers." Irishad begs Lucifer to be let through into the void. Lucifer tells her, "No, you had wasted a journey here. The gate leads to the void outside of creation. That's not the same as non-existence. There's nothing for you here." Irishad asks for Lucifer then to grant her death. Lucifer, he is capable of doing so, but he refuses. He says, "Your death is not my business. I suggest you take it up with the gods that cursed you." Irishad angrily responds, "Do you think I haven't done that? For 4,000 years I've called, and they never answer." Lucifer coldly replies back, "Well, time distills most things down to their essence. If it were me, I'd bargain from strength, if you think you have any." Irishad then returns home to the man she has been sleeping with. The next day, she visits an old friend of hers named Ormston. Ormston seems to know all about Irishad's fate. Irishad asks for help. Ormston tells her of a voodoo priest named Mambo, who may be able to assist her. Irishad returns to her rich lover and robs his safe of various belongings, and then she takes off. She goes and finds the voodoo priest Mambo. She explains her situation to him and gives him some expensive goods to trade for his services. Eventually, the voodoo priest begins a ritual. Mambo, he pulls out a jar and he chants some voodoo stuff. Eventually, Irishad's old gods get summoned into the bottle. The old gods ignored Irishad's pleas for death for years. With them summoned once again, Irishad can speak to them once more and ask for forgiveness. The gods are not happy to be summoned. They say to her, "Your sin is great, Irishad, and not yet expiated. It is sacrilege for you to even call on us." Irishad begs, You cannot imagine how little I care about sacrilege now. I ask again, will you remove your curse and let me die?" The old gods answered, "Not yet. In 1,000 years' space we will consider, and you may ask us again then." Irishad is not happy to be refused again. She says, "I will not wait 1,000 years. It will not wait for another day. Let me show you what will happen if you refuse me. There's another spirit here. You know it. You feel it." Irishad asks Mambo to summon that other spirit into the bottle. Mambo, he does so. The other spirit is that of Irishad's baby. The baby that was forced to be reborn and died each day for 4,000 years. The spirit of that baby gets summoned into the bottle with the gods. The baby was called into flesh 1,000,000 times, expelled 1,000,000 times from the warm dark. It's not a child anymore. It's a beast that has been turned out of its den, and it's very old and it's very strong. It takes a long time, but eventually the baby kills Irishad's old gods and devours them. And in the end, the old gods are dead. The voodoo priest Mambo, he also died in the process. And Irishad's baby is stuck in the jar. Later on, Irishad attempts to end her life once more. Even though her old gods are now dead, the curse is still not lifted, and she cannot die. So Irishad has to go on, living. Sometime later, Irishad, she has continued living her life. She is in Paris, at a pavement cafe, and Lucifer finds her and comes and joins her. Irishad is surprised to see him. Lucifer, he finally offers to help Irishad die. She is surprised and she asks, "My death? But you refused me last time. You said..." Lucifer cuts her off and says, "I said you had nothing I wanted, which was perfectly true at the time. But now you do. I want the bottle. It has many great uses to me, especially if given freely." Lucifer, he wants Irishad's baby. Irishad, surprised, asks, "My baby? You think I'd let you use my baby?" Lucifer answers, "Why not? You did. Revenge may be a sweet dish, but it's generally found on the children's menu." Irishad says, "Oh gods, I can't just give you it. What would you do with it? Would it be damned?" Lucifer explains it would feed one more time, a meal of my choosing at my discretion, and then it too would be released into death. I have other matters to attend to. If you agree to my terms, touch my hand." Irishad, she thinks about it, and then she does so. She grabs and touches Lucifer's hands, and finally, she is granted death. She dies, she turns to dust, and her ashes scatter into the wind. Lucifer then walks off, collecting the baby in a jar to use for his own purposes. Alright, so this baby in a jar is gonna come into play later, but for now, the story's gonna shift. We begin Lucifer issue 10, Children and Monsters, part 1 of 4. Up in the Silver City in heaven, the angel Amenadiel is talking with some other angels. They have formed a kind of war room. The other angels are Uriel, Zella, Raphael, and Casor. They discuss what Lucifer has been up to lately, and how Lucifer opened this gateway into the void, and how they want to take possession of the void themselves. They discuss how Lucifer consulted with the Basinos in Germany, and he spoke with Elaine in London, and he traveled to the Japanese god Izanami's afterworld and retrieved his wings. They fear he is as mighty as he ever was. Amenadiel dismisses some of these worries, though. He argues, when Lucifer attacked us last, he had a third of the host under his banner. Now he has a single daughter of Lilith is all he can muster, while our numbers are all but infinite. In fact, this presents us with something of a logistical problem. Bringing such a force to bear against so small a target is like asking them to dance on the head of a pin. It is no matter. We must accept that our casualties will be heavy. If we pour thrones and seraphs on him like rain, sooner or later Lucifer will fall. Back at the Lux bar, Lucifer is inside his void. He has brought the Irishad baby there and released it into the void. Lucifer tells the baby, "You see, you cannot harm me. Your mother gave you to me, so you're bound by her word and my will. Learn my face and my smell. Remember my voice. I'm your master. Anyone else you find here comes under the heading of food. Now stay until I whistle." So, Lucifer has this Irishad's baby in his gateway to act as a kind of defense mechanism for anyone who gets into the void. Lucifer then exits the void and talks with Mazikeen. Mazikeen is still very upset over her face being made whole by Jill Presto. She says, "This is not my voice, Lord. This is not my face. They are wounds that open again every time I speak." Lucifer, he kind of explains how Jill had good intentions. Mazikeen responds, "I'll kill her! I will kill her! When I see her next, her motives do not matter to me." Over in London, Elaine Belloc is in school. We met Elaine in Volume 1. Her friend Mona Doyle got killed and became a ghost, and Elaine investigated her friend's murder and avenged her. We learned in that volume that Elaine could communicate with the dead and see into the minds of other people. In this story arc, we will learn much more of Elaine Belloc and why she has those powers and the mystery around her true parents. So Elaine is in school, and after her class ends, she walks through the hallway, and the ghosts of her grandmothers wish to speak with her as they are worried about danger coming. So they appear, and Elaine follows them into an empty lecture hall to talk with them. The ghosts warn Elaine, "We've got to have a word, puppet. Trouble is already sniffing after you, granddaughter. That's why we're here. We've a warning for you, puppet, and answers too, if you've got the questions as needs answering." Elaine says, "About what?" The ghosts answers, "Your name, your nature, the little knacks that make you different. There's things you need to know, but rules is rules. You gotta ask the right questions and then we'll answer." Elaine kind of dismisses them. She says she's late for class, and to just give her the warning that they want to give her. The grandmothers respond, "Very well. The one who made you can still break you. Don't defy him or give him cause for anger. Trust nobody except for children and monsters." Back at the Lux, we see Lucifer with Mazikeen. They are performing some sort of ritual. Lucifer wants to bring someone to him. In the dreaming, whatever Lucifer has done is causing some havoc in the dreaming. Dream's employees, Lucian and Mervyn Pumpkinhead, watch as doors rain from the sky in the dreaming. Mervyn asks what Lucian makes of this. Lucian answers, I'd say that someone is sending out an invitation, someone who doesn't care about incurring our Lord's anger. Elsewhere, we see Elaine at home with her parents, or at least the people she believes are her parents. They are Matthew and Barbara Belloc. They seem to have a good relationship with Elaine and love their daughter very much. On the roof of Elaine's home, we see the ghost of Mona Doyle, Elaine's dead friend. Mona is talking with one of Elaine's dead grandmothers, Grandmother Furness. Grandmother Furness tells Mona, "There's something out there that's waiting to be born, and that I do fear. It opens its mouth, and there's nothing inside, and our Elaine's right in the path of it." Over in New York City, we meet a man named David Easterman, who has some sort of connection to Elaine, although he's not fully aware of it. David is depressed, as his wife Jude left him, and David has no job. That night, David takes some pills and attempts suicide, but it just puts him to sleep. Once in the dreaming, David hears the sound of a child crying that won't go away, so he follows the noise. It leads him into a doorway, which he then walks through. On the other side of the doorway, Lucifer is there. So whatever ritual Lucifer was performing earlier, and whatever havoc he caused in the dreaming, he did so to bring David through the dreaming to him. David asks, "Am I dreaming this?" Lucifer answers, "You walked through a dream to get here, but this place is in the waking world. Our discussion calls for privacy, and the dreaming is a very public place." Lucifer then starts explaining some things to David. In the past, David and his wife Jude had conceived a child together. That child was Elaine. One night, a man appeared by their bed and stole the child from Jude's womb. And in the morning, David and Jude just thought that Jude suffered a miscarriage, had suffered a spontaneous abortion, and somehow the baby was gone. But now Lucifer tells David the truth, that what he vaguely dreamt happened had actually happened that night, and that this Elaine is his daughter. Lucifer, with the message out there now, tells David goodbye. So David, he wakes up and appears back in New York. But before we go to David, Mazikeen talks with Lucifer some more. She wishes for Lucifer to help her with a problem with her face. She hates it. Lucifer says, "Your face, it has a most relentless symmetry now, a circular, self-referential perfection. It is interesting." Lucifer, he then kisses Mazikeen, and he tells her that he can't help her. Mazikeen asks, "He can't?" Lucifer answers, "Not yet. At this point, I have to hold my power back against the attack of the host." So Lucifer, he's expecting the various angels to come and attack him and his gateway soon, so he wants to save some of his powers for that. Mazikeen complains, "But I cannot bear this. I cannot function like this." Back in New York City, David has woken up and he has gone to the airport and he has boarded a flight to London to see his daughter that he just learned of from Lucifer. Lucifer, Issue 11, Children and Monsters, Part 2 of 4. Alright, I'm going to kick off this issue by doing some further backstory explanations on Elaine's true parents. So this David Easterman, he believes he is Elaine's father, but he is not. David is more like Joseph in the Bible. Not Jesus' actual father, but kind of like a surrogate sort of father. Elaine's true father is actually the archangel, Michael. Michael impregnated David's wife, Jude Easterman, but it is more complicated than that. Michael did not do so willingly. The archangel Michael is a very powerful angel. He is the second most powerful being in creation. equaled only by his brother, Lucifer, and surpassed only by their father, God, or the Presence. Michael was gifted the power of the Presence himself, a power called demiurgic power. This power refers to the creative force or power of creation, the ability to shape reality, create universes, and bring existence into being from nothingness. This power given to Michael by God gave Michael the ability to enable the physical creation of the cosmos to occur. So that's Michael. Ages ago, when Lucifer first attempted to overthrow heaven and revolted against it, Lucifer, he had some allies back then, other angels who sided with him. One of those angels was named Sandalphon. Sandalphon, during the first battle with heaven, managed to catch the archangel Michael by surprise. He wounded and he captured him. Sandalphon took Michael hostage and chained Michael up. Sandalphon wanted to create an army of angels loyal to him, so that he could attempt to overthrow heaven once again, repeat their failed war. The only problem is, angels can't mate. And how can Sandalphon create more angels? Well, that is where Michael comes in. Michael is alone among his angel kind with his power of creation, and he is the only one that can conceive children where the other angels cannot. So with Michael hostage, Sandalphon attempted to mate Michael with various human women in an attempt to create more angels. The only thing is, all of these half-breed angels he created were failures. One of those angels was named Cal. Cal would become Sandalphon's assistant. However, after all of these half-breed angel failures, finally Sandalphon succeeded. Elaine Belloc was a success, and Elaine could breed and create even more angels. So Sandalphon's plan was to harvest Elaine's ovaries and use them to create an army of perfect angels to lead a second assault against Heaven's gates. He needed to wait for Elaine to come of age, though. So for the time being, Sandalphon gave Elaine to two civilians named Matthew and Barbara Belloc. He gave them Elaine for the time being to raise as their own, because they were unable to have a child of their own, as well as a way to kind of keep Elaine as hidden as he could. So, in London now, we see Sandalphon along with his failed half-breed angel Cal. They are guarding the archangel Michael, who they have trapped in a large pit in the ground. Elsewhere in London, Elaine is talking with the ghost of her friend Mona. Mona asks, why doesn't Elaine just ask her grandmothers the truth about herself and finally get the answers she wants? As Elaine told her that the grandmothers have to tell Elaine whatever she wants to know. The problem is, though, Elaine, she's kind of scared to know. She says, it's like the only way I can go on pretending to be normal is if everyone else pretends too. I want to know what this danger that's coming is, but I don't want to be given a secret origin or something. Back in Los Angeles at the Lux, Lucifer has resurrected the demon Musubi, who he has taken under his command ever since he killed her in the Japanese afterworld in the previous story arc. Lucifer, he wants Musubi to guard his gateway to the void. Lucifer, referring to Mazikeen, says, the demon who was to have guarded the gate is off looking for her face, and I have one last errand to run before the fireworks start. Do you think you can keep the army of heaven entertained until I get back? Musubi, smiling, answers, oh yes, most certainly. Even if you are not the lord of my duty, that would be my pleasure. So Musubi is ready to do some fighting. Back in London, Elaine is with her adopted parents, who she believes are her real parents, Matthew and Barbara Belloc, and they are visited by David Easterman, who believes he is Elaine's real father, although he is not. It's kind of complicated. David, he rings the doorbell, and Elaine's parents answer, and Elaine is there as well. David says he wishes to speak to Elaine. Barbara asks, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why do you need to speak to my daughter? David answers, "Well, that's just it. She's not your daughter, she's my daughter. But I guess you already know that." Matthew, Elaine's adopted father, grows angry and yells, "You bastard! You sick bastard! I don't know who you think you are, but you come near my family again, I'm calling the police." Matthew then slams the door shut. This outburst by Elaine's adopted father is very uncharacteristic of him. It was such explosive anger, it almost seemed like Matthew knew the truth, but he didn't want to admit it, so he made threats and kicked David out. Elaine is then sent up to her bedroom afterwards. Once in her bedroom, Elaine is a little shooken by this David person claiming to be her father showing up at her door. Elaine, she asks to speak to her grandmother's spirits and try and get answers. Elaine says, "Grandmas, what's going on? Tell me, who is that man?" Elaine's grandmothers, before they can tell Elaine the truth, they get sucked away, summoned over to the angel Sandalphon. Sandalphon now has the grandmother spirits and he has rolled them up into a ball. And then he says to the grandmothers, "I'm sorry to summon you so brusquely, ladies. You may blame it on your own indiscretion. You know that you have only survived this long because my contempt for you has been greater than my irritation. But now you have tried to tell her what she is. And look, I'm very irritated." Sandalphon then tosses the ball of the old women to the ground. And then he summons over the other half-breed angel he created, Cal, and he orders Cal to clean the old woman up. Sandalphon then warns Cal of David Easterman, and Sandalphon lies, saying that David wishes to harm Cal's sister, Elaine. Since Cal and Elaine are both spawn of the Archangel Michael, they are, sort of in a way, siblings. Not that Elaine knows that at this time. Cal is eager to defend his sister though, and he will take this David down. At school the next day in the schoolyard, Elaine is talking to her friends about David and how it was really weird how this guy showed up at her door claiming to be her dad. Her friends wonder if this David is a pedophile or something else. As they are talking, David shows up at the gate by Elaine's school. Elaine sees him, and she decides she wants to hear him out. So Elaine goes and talks with David. Elaine, she comments, "You followed me. You're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble, mister." David says he doesn't care. Elaine asks if he's a pedophile. David says he is not. David gives Elaine a picture. Elaine opens it. The picture is an ultrasound picture. David explains, "It's an ultrasound scan. It's my wife's stomach, 13 weeks after we conceived. It's the only picture I have of you, Elaine." So David and his wife got pregnant, and David assumed the child was his, but David's wife Jude was actually impregnated by the Archangel Michael. David didn't know that though, he just assumed that Elaine was his. Elaine responds, "You're crazy. I'm not adopted. My mom and dad would have told me if I was." David answers, "Not adopted, stolen. You should ask your parents. How?" While David is talking to Elaine, a police officer sees David and thinks he's pretty sketchy, as he's just talking to another school grader through the gate by the school grounds. So the cop tries to arrest David, and David manages to run away. Up in the Silver City, in heaven, the angel Amenadiel is giving a motivational speech to the other angels, preparing them for the battle to take Lucifer's gate. Amenadiel, he says, "You know the objective, and you know the order of battle. One final word before we spread our wings. The Morningstar will fight without honor and without mercy. That is a given. Those of you who fought him before will remember and know I speak the truth. Now it may be in that tide of battle some opportunity will present itself, but that one of your comrades stands in the path of your blow. Do not hesitate, but strike home. If the adversary could be drowned with our blood, every soldier here would slit his own veins and sing as he emptied them. Now go forth and end this." At the locks, Lucifer tells Masubi, "They're coming. Prepare yourself. Everything comes to a head at once. Whichever way it goes, this will be decisive." Lucifer gives Musubi a sword and says, "I'll be back in an hour or two if all goes well. Good luck." Musubi responds, "There's no need for undue haste. Come, children of heaven, come dance with Musubi." Back in London, David Easterman is walking the street as he gets stopped by the half-breed angel Cal. Cal, being told by Sandalphon that David is a threat, attacks David and tells him, "You're a very bad man, and you're going to die." Cal throws David in the back of this alley. David, confused, pleads, "Please, you're making a mistake. I'm not bad, I promise you. I've never killed anyone. Why are you doing this to me?" Cal answers, "Because you wouldn't leave her alone. You wanted to hurt her. You wanted to hurt my little sister." Lucifer Issue 12, Children and Monsters, Part 3 of 4. Down in Los Angeles, the Angels begin their invasion. With their power, they make every civilian in LA fall asleep. Once that is done, they land and prepare to attack. In London, Cal is strangling David in the street, but Elaine happens to spot them. She runs over and tells Cal, "Look what you've done to him, you monster! Get away from him!" Cal is saddened that his sister called him a monster, and he flies away. Elaine then talks to David and demands answers. She wants to know why he believes he is her father. David explains how him and his wife Jude were trying to conceive a child for a while. Finally, Jude got pregnant, and everything was going well. All the medical tests showed that Elaine should be healthy, until one night David woke up at 2 a.m. and their bedroom was really bright, just a massive bright light shining inside of it. And David swears a man was leaning over their bed. That man was actually the angel Sandalphon, and he was stealing the baby. He had his hands over Jude's stomach. David yelled at him, "Get the hell away from my wife!" But Sandalphon just told David to go to sleep. And then David passed out. And in the morning, the baby, Elaine, was gone from Jude's stomach, and Jude was devastated. She lost her baby. The doctors said it was a spontaneous abortion. And ever since that bastard told David to sleep, that seems like all he's been doing. Elaine, hearing the story, responds, "That's a really sad and strange story, Mr. Easterman, but you still didn't say why you think the picture on the ultrasound is of me." David answers, "Yeah, well, I was hoping that it would get lost in the shuffle. Alright, some guy in a dream told me. There you go." Elaine questions, "A man in a dream? A man with blonde hair?" David says, "Yeah." Elaine continues, "And he was dressed in black and white?" David answers, "Yeah, now that you mention it." Elaine continues, "That wasn't a man, Mr. Easterman. That was the devil." Elaine, she met Lucifer before. Back at the Lux, the Angels are investigating the whereabouts of the gate when Musubi attacks them. She grabs an angel and asks, "How many are you?" The angel answers, "Countless thousands, Pitspawn. Enough to send your race to extinction if you oppose us." Musubi to this says, "I am my race." She then kills that angel and turns her attention to the others. Back in London at a diner, David gets coffee while Elaine phones and talks to her adopted parents, Matthew and Barbara, and she demands the truth from them. After the phone call, David asks, "So, what did they say?" Elaine answers, "Not much. They just cried a lot. They said they were going to tell me when I was 16. They told me that they couldn't adopt, and then this man came and told them that they could if they kept it a secret." They sit and talk some more. Elaine brings her ghost friend Mona to talk with her. Elaine becomes concerned when her grandmothers no longer appear before her when she asks to talk to them. Back at the Lux, Musubi has swords in all of her many hands and is killing tons of angels. The sky there starts filling with feathers and blood. Eventually, Musubi gets overwhelmed, and Amenadiel swerves off against her. Musubi asks, "Tell me, how many have I killed, Angel?" Amenadiel answers, "Not enough." He then chops Musubi's head off. Amenadiel then reports in to the other angels saying, "It is over. The gate is ours. We have defeated Lucifer." Back in London, David, Elaine, and the ghost Mona Doyle travel to the abandoned factory where Sandalphon is operating out of. Elaine knows they are here because this is where Cal went to after he left them earlier. Mona, as a ghost, says that she's gonna fly into the factory first to scout out the area. When Mona goes inside the factory, Sandalphon finds her and seemingly is able to suck out her ghostly spirit, causing Mona to begin to disappear. Back at the locks, Amenadiel and the other angels find the gateway to the void. Finally, some of the angels enter it. However, inside the void is Irishad's baby, waiting for them as a sort of final defense mechanism. As the angels enter the gateway, the baby begins devouring many angels that enter the void. See in this image here? Here's the doorway into the void, and here's the angels entering the void, and there's the massive baby with all the angels entering into the baby's mouth. Back in London, Elaine and David enter the factory. The ghost, Mona Doyle, flies back to Elaine. Mona is not doing well. She explains that she can't see. She begs for help. She then disappears into mist. Elaine, concerned, screams, "Mona!" Finally, Sandalphon walks out and makes his presence known. He tells Elaine, "Your friend is dead. I helped her come to terms with that fact." Elaine yells, "You bring her back right now, or I'll kill you." David, he then yells at the angel, "Take your hands off my daughter, buddy. I mean it." David then recognizes Sandalphon as the man that stole his child from his wife's womb. Sandalphon responds to David, "Your daughter? You delude yourself. You are only the Joseph. That is her father. If you've come here for revelations, then help yourself." David and Elaine then see the Archangel Michael chained up, Elaine's true father. Michael is actually massive in size. Michael says, "You are here. It is almost over then. I am sorry, Elaine Belloc, for what you have lost and what you still must lose." Lucifer, Issue 13, Children and Monsters, Part 4 of 4, The Conclusion. The Archangel Michael, who seems to be the size of a building, has many chains attached to him, and it makes him unable to move. Sandalphon speaks with Elaine. Elaine says, "You're stealing babies and turning them into monsters, like that boy with the wings who attacked Mr. Easterman. Please, bring my friend Mona back and let us go." Sandalphon responded, "I'm not making monsters, child. Where would be the point of that?" "I'm making angels." Elaine angrily responds, "That's stupid. I'm not an angel. I haven't got any wings or anything." Sandalphon to this says, "We are sterile, you see, all except for him, Michael. He has the demiurgic power, bequeathed to him by God himself. I used that power to quicken human wombs. Then I took the unborn children and used his body to incubate them. And things have gone well. True, Cal has no genitalia and is a little impaired in other ways, but then there's you, after only 4,000 generations. Or more to the point, there's your ovaries, perfect and fully functional. Believe me when I say that I take no pleasure in this. To harvest in springtime is somehow intensely unaesthetic." David yells, "You bastard! You psychopathic bastard! If you think you're touching one hair on her head..." Sandalphon cuts him off and says, "You are utterly irrelevant to all this. She is not your child. The human side of her heritage is your wife's, while Michael both sired and ultimately birthed her. You should have stayed home, little man, for in truth you had nothing to gain here." Sandalphon then lifts David over his head and chucks him over the railing to his death, down below. Back at the Lux, one of the angels, Raphael, escapes the void and reports back to Amenadiel. The angel explains, "There is resistance, a single creature. I found this bottle. The two are connected in some way." Amenadiel to this says, "Yes, I see. Thank you, Raphael. Rest a while. It's only appropriate that I finish this myself." Amenadiel then walks into the void. Back in London, Elaine is running and trying to hide. She decides to crawl down into this pit. Sandalphon finds her though. He uses some powers to make Elaine levitate out of the pit. Inside the pit, it is filled with all the other failed half-breed angels Sandalphon has created in the past and discarded. Sandalphon brings Elaine back over to him, and this is when Lucifer arrives. Back in the void in LA, Amenadiel has entered the void, and with the bottle that previously held Irishad's baby, he manages to suck the baby back into the bottle. Back over to Elaine. She asks Lucifer for help. Sandalphon explains his plan to Lucifer. He says, "The fight I continue here is the one that you began. I am raising soldiers to storm the gates of heaven." Lucifer, hearing this, says, "Your army seems rather small, Sandalphon, and rather mutinous." Sandalphon says further, "I'm serious. Nothing like this has ever been done before. I have bred from angelic stock. This girl has 300 ova, and every one of them will become an archangel." Lucifer replies, "No, I'm afraid that conflicts with my agenda." Sandalphon is disappointed. He doesn't even understand, why is Lucifer even here? Lucifer says that Sandalphon's plan was not very well hidden. Lucifer discovered it a while ago when he first saw Elaine. Cal, Elaine's sort of sister, attempts to surprise attack Lucifer, but Lucifer just fires a firebolt at Cal. Cal gets lit on fire and falls into the pit. Sandalphon, upset, says, "Lucifer, I've labored too long and too hard. My plans are too far advanced. I warn you." Lucifer does not respond well to threats, so he slaps Sandalphon in the face and says, "I care nothing for your labor or your plans, but I require both Michael and this child intact. Now yield or fight me, but waste no more of my time." Sandalphon wipes the blood from his mouth and replies, "I have no desire to fight you. I consider us to be on the same side." Lucifer walks away and says, "That's a point of view, certainly. In any case, I'm overlooking the sentence that began, 'I warn you,' but only because you didn't get to finish it." Lucifer then goes and talks with the Archangel Michael and wants to make some sort of deal with him. He requests that Michael transform into a smaller size. Lucifer then takes off with both Elaine and Michael. With them gone, Sandalphon's lair there begins to structurally fall apart. Cal crawls out of the pit, his body charred. Sandalphon tells him that the place is falling apart. It was only Michael's power that was holding it all together. Sandalphon tells Cal to go on ahead. He has a lot to think about, a lot before he can restart this program up again. Cal, he then takes off to safety. Back in LA at the Lux, Amenadiel's forces have successfully forced Irishad's baby back into the bottle, and Amenadiel feels like he has won. But that is when Lucifer arrives, along with Michael in his arms. Amenadiel, still overconfident, feels that he has beat Lucifer. He tells him, "This city belongs to heaven now, as does your gate." One of the other angels interrupts Amenadiel, though, and says, "You don't understand. Lucifer has actually won. We have to leave now. Reflect a moment. Michael is a vessel for the divine power. If he dies here, if that vessel cracks, the worlds will be scoured clean of life. There will be nothing left." Because Michael has this demiurgic power, this power of creation, if Lucifer were to kill Michael, Michael would kind of explode and take the entire world with him. Lucifer adds, "Exactly, and I have promised Michael death. The only question is where. If the gate is yours, I'll have to drop the axe right here." Amenadiel, angry that he has been beaten, warns. This is not over, Morningstar. And it must be over while you live. There is no joy for me. I challenge you to face me alone, wherever and whenever you like. Lucifer accepts the challenge and says, very well. In Ephral, a year from now. That will give you time to put your affairs in order. Now put that bottle down before you leave. That's mine, too. Amenadiel and the rest of the angels head off back to heaven. Lucifer then carries the very ill and weakened Michael into the void. When Michael dies, he will basically destroy the world along with him. But if Michael dies in the void, it will be kind of like a controlled detonation. There is nothing in the void to destroy. Lucifer in the void asks Michael if he is ready to die. Michael answers, for 80,000 years at least. Strike clean, brother. Lucifer, he kills Michael, and Michael explodes in the void, creating a kind of Big Bang, and thus creating a universe inside the void. Michael, he dies and then he resurrects with a new, healthy body. Michael then asks Lucifer, what exactly is this? Lucifer answers, the culmination of all my efforts, the end of predestination, the end of tyranny. I have escaped from Providence, Michael. I've gone into the God business. You could join me if you wanted to. You'd be welcome. Michael responds, I will consider it, but I think not. Go well, brother. Michael leaves and Lucifer stays and continues to watch the universe form inside the void. Back on Earth, Michael visits his daughter, Elaine. They talk. Michael warns Elaine of Lucifer. However, Elaine seems trusting of him. She says, he saved my life twice. He's the only grown-up I know who keeps his promises. Michael warns her further and says, don't mistake it for a virtue. Now open your hand, I have a gift for you. Michael then gives her something that looks like a small black pearl. Elaine asks what it is. Michael answers, an anomaly. When the Sandalphon's pocket world collapsed, it spat this out and I caught it. It is your grandmother's. Take care, my daughter. Michael then heads off. Later that night, when Elaine sleeps, the ghost of David Easterman, Elaine's sort of other father, but not really kind of, watches over her. He wants to take care of her, and he wants her to love him. And with this, we end Lucifer, Children and Monsters. Alright, so that was Lucifer, Children and Monsters, and I thought this was a pretty exciting story arc. A lot of plot threads developing, lots of stuff going on. So we had Amenadiel up there in heaven scheming with the other angels, and they lead an army down to Earth to attack Lucifer's bar. But Masubi's there, and she kills a whole bunch of them, and I thought Masubi was pretty cool with all of her arms and swords, pretty badass. So all that was really fun. I thought it was interesting learning a little bit more about this Elaine Belloc and what her deal is, and then the overarching kind of convoluted story of Sandalphon and the Archangel Michael and Sandalphon's wild scheme to use Michael to birth a whole bunch of angels that he can use to storm heaven, although all the angels he was birthing were kind of not the best. But finally he has Elaine and he wants to harvest her ovaries and use her to farm his whole army there. But then Lucifer steps in and he has other plans, so he tells Sandalphon to screw off, and then Lucifer takes Michael and then also tells Amenadiel and the other angels to screw off because Lucifer threatens to kill Michael. And then he takes Michael into this void. He gives Michael death, sort of, I think, in a way. And Michael's creation powers get released into the void. And Lucifer kind of, with those powers in a way, creates a universe there. And then Michael is sort of brought back to life, or doesn't fully die or whatever, but Michael's back. And yeah, a lot of plot threads going on. Pretty exciting. It's still a little bit high concept and kind of weird with what's going on, but I think it was pretty fun. I'm going to give this volume an 8 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be back in the future with the next chapter of Lucifer.